Hi everyone, this is our channel, Meet the Real Story. Please like, share and subscribe.
A teacher often serves as a role model for his students. His morality, social conscience, manners, intelligence, personality, emotional savvy, and depth and breadth of knowledge are always on display. If these are all exemplary, he or she gains his students' respect, admiration, and reverence in the hearts. My name is Patty, and I am 17 years old. I am in my senior year at a prestigious secondary school renowned for having excellent teachers in all subjects. I am so proud of my school because they use modern, creative ways to teach in class. When I tell my friends about my school, they, being in lesser quality schools, usually don't believe me. One of our teachers recently gave birth to a new baby and took maternity leave, so our school had to hire a substitute teacher to cover her class in her absence. When he entered our classroom for the first time, we were awestruck by how handsome, intelligent, and elegant he was. All the girls adored him, including myself. I would rarely hear most of his explanations because I would be so focused on his enchanted eyes. Soon, I noticed that he liked me too. I wanted to know more about him, so I explored his Facebook page and concocted silly reasons to need to speak with him. We chatted on numerous occasions. During one such chat, he spontaneously asked me to send him my photo, but I was instantly uneasy with that request. It raised a red flag with me. It seemed creepy and inappropriate. I used the excuse that my mom had forbidden me from sending my picture on my phone, and was shocked when he took offense at my declining to do as he asked. He threatened me, saying that if I didn't send him nude pictures of myself, that he would use Photoshop to create such pictures of me and send them around the school. I was dumbfounded, numb, fearful. I told him we could meet tomorrow and talk some more. He warned me not to tell anyone about our relationship, or else he would ruin my life. I promptly made screenshots of all our previous conversations. I resolved to always turn on my voice recorder app each time right before we would meet again. I succeeded in making him feel relaxed enough that he spoke freely about his feelings and desires. Then I excused myself at some point and told him I had to go home because Mom had wanted me home to go somewhere with her. Instead, I went straight to the police station and told them about this substitute teacher and his indecent requests of me and his threat about ruining my life. I let them listen to our recorded conversations. They said that other students had complained about him before too, but they hadn't been able to get the concrete evidence that I had assembled. He had repeated this routine on different teenage students in several states. When he failed to return to school after I talked to the police that afternoon, I was the only one who knew what had happened to him.
Love what you do until you can do what you love. This is a famous quote that inspires people to seek out their dream job. I heard that quote at school before I graduated and entered the working world. What's that, you ask? Was I successful in achieving my dream? Well, I came this close. Let me tell you about it. My name is Max and I'm 19 years old. Poverty and I are intimate friends and constant companions. I live in one of the poorest neighborhoods in my city. Most of the local citizens work at the seaport. The rest of us, we make a living by scavenging through and collecting rubbish. But I wasn't just an ordinary rubbish collector. No, sir, I was a specialist in that field, like my dad before me. Dad taught my brothers and me how to do it expertly. This is how it worked. Factories liked to use recycled materials to reduce the cost of buying new materials, so we would go to the city rubbish pile and separate out materials into different piles, such as plastics, glass bottles, milk cartons, tin cans, and so on. Then we would sell those materials to factories for reuse in making their products. This recycling process saved the factories a ton of money, but unfortunately, that didn't translate into a ton of money for us rubbish collectors. I had a dream one day of opening my own factory and just sitting back and watching the money flow in. When I told Dad that, he told me that good fortune only happens for a select few people. After hearing those words, I went to bed and dreamed about my future factory. Little did I suspect that my dream might actually come true someday. One day after working late collecting rubbish, while on the way home, I suddenly heard voices coming from a large rubbish pile in front of my home. It seemed that people were using that pile as a place of business to sell drugs and booze. An argument was brewing between two groups. Each group were wielding sticks and knives as makeshift weapons. One guy in Group A had a gun and shot someone in Group B, so someone in Group B stabbed gun guy in Group A. After that, a full-on fight ensued, with everyone in both groups joining in the fray. Within minutes, I heard approaching police sirens, which caused the fight to break up and both groups to run away, leaving the bleeding gun guy lying on the sidewalk. I tried to help him by staunching his bleeding. As I was doing so, I noticed a lottery ticket beside him with a letter saying that it was the winning ticket for $1 million payout. I froze. I looked around. No one was watching, so I acted, somewhat ignobly. Then I left quickly. If the police were to arrive and find me with the bleeding man, they might think that I had done it. I rushed home and fell into an easy chair, taking a deep breath of relief. While I was telling Dad about what had happened, there was a knock on the door. It was the Group A and B gangs. The spokesperson for the two groups held a knife in my direction and said, "Hand over the lottery ticket or die where you stand." Needless to say, I handed it over post-haste. But then he said, "I'm sorry, you've seen too much. You have to die." I pleaded, "But I didn't see anything, I swear." Suddenly, there was a flash from a camera, and the whole group of thugs began laughing. "You've been pranked," Dad said, as he stepped out from the crowd. My brothers were behind him laughing too. "You've been pranked," Dad said, as he stepped out from the crowd. My brothers were behind him laughing too. While relieved that my imminent death had been postponed, I was deeply saddened that I had lost my $1 million chance to get my dream factory. What rubbish.
Most people dream of being rich and famous with a happy family, a prestigious job, and a huge villa. Achieving these dreams needs patience and hard work. I'm not interested in the meaning or value of a job itself. The only thing I care about is the salary it pays. I want my dream job to pay a high salary. That's all I ask. My name is Raji, and I am 21 years old. I have had only one dream my whole life: to be rich and to have a prestigious, high-paying job. It has been my dream since I was a boy because I don't want to waste my time in a low-paying job. I searched the newspaper for jobs with a good salary, any kind of job. One day, I found a catchy advertisement: elderly companion needed. The caregiver salary was quite good, and it seemed like an easy job, so I went to the interview. The interview session made me feel a little uneasy. I tried to remain calm by focusing on that nice salary the job paid. The interviewer was an old man, who even introduced me to his sons. He said that I have to take care of their invalid father, feeding him, changing his bed sheets, and giving him his medications. They were about to show me a list of the job duties, but I interrupted them before they could finish their sales spiel. "I'll take it," I stated simply and directly. They stood there with their mouths opened and then shrugged their shoulders. Okay, I got the job. So I lived there with their father, I'll call him the old man, in his villa. I sometimes felt that there was someone else there with us, but maybe I was just seeing shadows. The man himself was somewhat queer. I would sometimes wake up to find him looking at me intently and smiling strangely. One early morning at like 3 a.m., I heard a noise and went to his room, only to find his bed empty. Strange. Then suddenly, I sensed someone behind me, and I turned around quickly to see him holding a knife. He tried to attack me, but I managed to fend him off and pushed him away. Then I dashed out of the villa. I never came back. I told myself I didn't want to die on my dream job. Failing at my first attempt to find my dream job didn't stop me from trying again. I soon found a new one, which was an assistant clothes designer. The salary was even better than the last job. I went to the interview, and the interviewer, the clothes designer himself, seemed a little odd. I couldn't discern his, her, its gender because it had long hair and a soft voice, but on balance, I decided to call it a man. I told myself that I shouldn't judge people from their appearance, so I started my new job as his assistant. I told him that I was enthusiastic about the job, but I got the heebie-jeebies when he suddenly took my hand in his and just held it while looking at me. Was this guy homosexual? I wondered. I decided to ignore his odd behavior. It's all about the salary, you know. I have to say that he was very good at his work, and I met a lot of celebrities while working in his workshop. One day, our workload was particularly heavy due to an international festival in town. I was tidying up a new dress when he suddenly put his hand on the small of my back and asked me if I want to lie down with him. That heebie-jeebies feeling suddenly returned, and I pushed him away and dashed out the door while shouting back, "I suspected you might try that from the beginning, but I ignored my premonitions. Bye!" He called after me and said that I didn't know what I was missing, but I shouted back that I would live without it. Back to the want ads to look for another dream job. I searched for a few months before coming upon another job as a coffee bean collector. The salary was even better than the last job, so I was perfectly happy with that. I went to the interview. This time, the interviewer seemed to be a normal, welcoming kind of guy. "I hope you are ready to take this job," he said. "I surely am. I'm enthusiastic about it," I said. He explained the job duties. I had to collect coffee beans, wash and clean them, and put them in sacks for transporting. He said that I had to sign a legal contract that I couldn't break or get out of before its end date. "I am totally ready," I said. "Where do I sign?" He smiled kindly and escorted me to his office. I signed the contract without even reading it. It's all about the salary, you know. I couldn't wait to start putting away that high salary so I could start getting rich. He led me to the work area. While walking, I was imagining gently picking those fragrant coffee beans in those sunny, wide open fields. Boy, was I surprised when we stopped where a small herd of elephants were standing idly, swinging their tails and trunks back and forth. Some laborers were standing beside them, knee-deep in elephant poop and hand-picking coffee beans out of it, and putting the beans into sacks. I turned back to look at the hiring interviewer. He was guffawing and said, "Sorry, pal, you signed the contract. Too late to back out now." Then he walked away, still laughing. Please, God, don't let this be my dream job.